I am going to be training every single day. I don't know how long I'm going to keep this going, but I plan really until I lose interest in football where I can no longer play football anymore. But I am committed for the foreseeable future. It is inspired by the squatting every day, Ivan Juric, I believe is his name. I apologize if I get that wrong. A lot of people do get inspired by him. However, I have contemplated this for a long time, and if you go through my channel, you can see that I've tried to do a lot of different types of videos, but I keep coming back to the thought of this series because it resonates with me extremely. I don't know if it's well or strongly is the right word. Nevertheless, it's something that interests me because sport for me is a mental game. I understand there's physical capabilities, but it's very David Goggins-esque and even Juric-esque, I guess. I'm very interested in, can you show up every day and can you get the job done even when you don't feel like doing it? It's no surprise that this type of content was always the most interesting to me because I grew up on sports. I grew up fascinated with football, later basketball, particularly the NBA, had a little stint with the NFL, and had little stints here and there with tennis, but it was always predominantly football. And with football, I had a lot of mental barriers to overcome myself because I grew up for a long time believing I had natural ability. So I fall right into the bracket of the perfect consumer for a David Goggins or even Juric because I need to be trained. Well, not anymore because I don't play, but it's more for my own interest and benefit. But I wanted to do well within football, and I never really had done since I was 8 years old. So I needed someone to give me a kick up the backside and let me know that if I wanted to achieve the things that I wanted to achieve in football, that I would need to train every day, get over myself and get over the thoughts in my head that were holding me back. Which is what I did, and that's a story for another day. You can see I'm already getting too much into it. But today, how did I feel and what did I do? So today's training was extremely simplistic. I put out a set of 2 cones and dribbled in a figure of 8 or an infinity symbol. First with just my right foot, then with just my left foot. And then I did 1 repetition right, like 1 figure of 8, and then 1 repetition left. With my right foot, I felt pretty good. With my left foot, I felt so shaky, and I think mentally I was off it because I hadn't trained individually for almost a week. I haven't had a consistent run of training since September, so it's now November, so 2 months ago, if you're watching this in the future. But what was most interesting was that, like, the confidence that I had in comparison, obviously. I've done a lot of ball mastery with both feet, so I've started to feel like, okay, I'm confident on both feet with dribbling. I knew in other areas that wasn't the case, but this simplistic drill, and I love simplistic drills because they do exactly this, exposed my weakness. You know, we can overcomplicate drills sometimes and then you can make excuses for yourself because you say, oh, it's just way too complicated. I just need to get this step and this step and this, like, it's going to take a long time to build. But if you get a simplistic drill, it just exposes anyone because that is essentially football, is can you do the simplistic things all together when they are necessary, and sometimes it just needs to be 1 move that you need to do. And today, for me, it was left foot dribbling that I just kept tripping up on and making mistakes. So it got to a point where when I was doing 1 rep right, 1 rep left, well, it was the first set of that actually that I said, okay, for me to finish this drill, I have to do 6 in a row, so 3 reps of each in a row without a mistake. And I kept making mistakes. I think it was 3 or 4 times in a row, so it kept prolonging the drill. Now the reason I did this was because a lot of times with football drills I feel myself rushing the drill because football is a performance sport and you want to do it as quick as possible. However, sometimes it is best to slow our brains down and be present and look for the best option. Obviously, when you're doing such a single-minded drill, a drill with a singular focus, you don't have multiple options, so of course you're just going to go for it. But there was clearly a problem with my left foot. I kept making mistakes, so just going as fast as I could was and ramping that up or trying to maintain that pace was not going to solve the problem. So I had to slow down a little bit. And that's essentially what that does is, okay, I keep making mistakes, instead of just stopping and giving up, we're going to keep going, but you're going to keep going until you don't make mistakes. So that forces me to slow down and take more care with my touches and look for more effective touches as well. And eventually it solved the problem. Then after, I did 2 more sets of the same, but the goal became, I think on the second one I did 10 in a row. I might have just done 10 and that was it. And if the mistake was so little that it barely threw me off course, I'd just let it go. Like, for example, if it grazes a cone, I'm not going to stop. But if it hits the cone and the ball stops and it's come out my path, then obviously I'm going to stop. And in that one, there was a few times where I grazed the ball, I touched the ball slightly with my right when I was meant to be my left. But I let those things go, because if you're going to stop yourself on those little things that are so irrelevant, you're going to lose your mind over the smallest details. The third one I did 10 again, but I think, I can't remember whether I did or not, but my aim was, okay, don't just stop when you do 10, keep going as much as you can. But I think I started making mistakes and then just ended it. I'm not sure if I did another one. Obviously I'll put it in if I did another one afterwards. But that drill was done, and I just wanted to get that out of the way, because I wanted to go and do another drill. So the other drill that I did was what I call the slalom dribble, or a zigzag dribble. You can see it on screen now, and I did different variations. So I did just my left foot, and I started off with both feet, and I think I did 6 sets of those. It was difficult, because the first 3 or 4 on the way back I was getting confused. Basically what I was trying to do was, you dribble in the direction that you're going. So if I'm going left, I use my left foot. So you dribble with the foot of the direction you're going in, and then you cut and continue with the other foot and continue, so it leads you in. So let's say if I'm dribbling with my left foot, I cut with my right and then keep going with my right, instead of cutting with my left and switching to my right. It just makes it a bit more seamless to me, and it also encourages like using both feet. It's not that I play competitively anymore, but it's just fun for me mentally. And if I was to play competitively, it's a good thing to do, because defenders would not be used to a player who's dribbling with their left foot and then all of a sudden their right foot comes out of nowhere and swings the ball another way. It's a very effective technique. So yeah, the left foot was all right, and the right foot was all right there, but I still felt not so great. Again, it was just the shakiness of first time training in a week, no breakfast, no water. I mean, I never have no breakfast. I never have any breakfast, so that's not a huge deal. But the no water really was sapping me of energy, and the fact that it was the first time that I woke up at 5 a.m. for a long time, my body was just out of sorts, they would say. It was not in its familiar habitat, but I kept pushing on. And then we went to single feet dribbling. So I started off with my left, and I introduced cutting with my sole back across, and then an outside cut back across. And on my left, the outside cut's fine, but the sole is really slow, and it looks, I don't know how it looks, because I actually talk over these and then put the clips in, but it just felt very, very awkward, and I wish it wasn't so awkward. And I knew it felt awkward straight away, but I thought, maybe it's all right. But then we went to my right foot, and my right foot with my sole was so much better. With my left foot, I'm almost overthinking it a little bit too much because it feels so unnatural. So all that is really, whenever I get something like that's a weakness, I just try not to think about it too much and keep practicing. Yes, I can, it's possible to figure out, but it's so simple that you don't want to, I don't know, I'm not going to give advice, but I don't like to get too into it and overthink it, because the best players do what they are good at. And you will naturally know what you are good at, as in your body will know. You won't have to think about it if you just stop trying to think about everything. So that's my aim with training at the moment, is to be more present. And this is why also my training is so simplistic. It's conducive for presence of mind, and it's also really good for fitness. Another reason I'm doing this is to be fit, and I don't want to just run up and down without the ball the whole session. And I don't always do dribbling, but today dribbling was done because at this current time I'm quite rusty in all of my game. But if you were to put all of my characteristics, at least technical characteristics, down on paper, I'd say dribbling is not my strong suit. And when you see players like Jude Bellingham, who can be so effective because they're so simplistic with their dribbling, and they try and break lines themselves, not just with passing. Another player, because I'm saying they are, obviously it's not just Jude Bellingham who does that. Wow, this is embarrassing. I can't even think of another player, but I think Jude Bellingham is just the prime example, so we'll just say him. Obviously I'm not going to be using it to play against people, but it's just fun for me. That's the way I enjoy football at the moment, and that's the main thing. Is if I'm going out and I'm going out to learn, it has to be something that I enjoy and something that I'm going to want to do, because at the end of the day, we love cliches. I need to be able to go out there and want to do what I'm doing. A lot of times I used to do repetition training, so counting how many reps, and I don't mean like how I've explained previously with my draw. I mean, okay, this month we're going to do 2,000 of this, and that used to just bore me because I used to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, sure, that is what my training is now, but the difference is that I was just maximizing for numbers when I was doing it, because it was like the thought that I had to get 2,000 or however many I said or set for myself in that month, in a month, rather than me thinking, okay, we're going to push ourselves, but the training's going to be designed for me to be present. And that wasn't, it was just a numbers game. So I'm glad that my training has changed and it's no longer like that. So after all of this, to finish, well actually before I say to finish, what I was doing for rest in between these, because again it's very important to understand why we rest, is I walk around my floodlights and the pitch area that I've got set out and just keep moving. There were a couple of times today where I really did have to stop and catch my breath. I was trying to limit that as much as possible. Excuse me. The idea was, again, that when it comes to that decision of, okay, you're going to stop and rest and kind of gather yourself, or you're going to push on and keep going. I wanted to push on and keep going as much as I could and try and have active rest. It creates a mindset of always looking for the next thing to do, which is debatable whether it's healthy all the time. I mean, it's not debatable. Of course it wouldn't be healthy all the time. We do need time to rest, but this is what this is. Me lying down here talking to you is rest. If I'm out there and I'm running up and down constantly and then I have a bit of rest in between, I need to keep moving. I don't want to stop, especially because in a football game you never really get an opportunity to stop for at least 1 or 2 minutes and be static. You need to keep moving. So it's a bit funny how all of my training is designed for me to be an effective player, but I'm not playing. But again, there's 2 reasons for that. It's one, mainly because I enjoy it. The second is because I coach. So I need to be training things that are effective and I can pass on to my players, so that when they go and play, they bring back feedback that is positive. Yeah, so to finish this session, I decided that I would get a bit more fitness in, because I looked at the time at the recording and it said 57 minutes. So I thought, okay, let's try and bump it to an hour. What can I do? I did some fitness, simple running up to about 5 yards away from the tree and then cutting back. I didn't want to touch the tree because I wanted to work on the cutting movement without pushing off something to make it more game realistic again. And I believe I did 6 reps, so that'd be 12 sprints in total. I felt really good doing this. The actual reason in the time for me not running to the tree was because people were walking past and I didn't want to scare anyone by sprinting up to them or looking like I was going to sprint up to them. But I also realised that, oh yeah, if I cut, it's more realistic. Helping people out and helping myself out at the same time is a win-win. At the end of them, I was blowing, but what I was really proud of, if they're still going now, is you'll see that I didn't take that big of a break in between each sprint. Really just went for it and covered a lot of distance there. I'm pretty sure those sprints were a good 40 yards each one. So very happy with today, and it is the first of many days to come. And this is another example. I'm not trying to think of the days to come as a big number that I'm trying to achieve. I'm just trying to be like, okay, this is a lifestyle now and I'm welcomed into the everyday club. That's how I feel today. And it's also how I feel in general in life, because I'm so focused at the moment on achieving such big goals, but I realise that I have to limit my desires so that I can get the most meaningful ones. And also, I can't be focused. Is the cliche of you got to enjoy the journey, not, I can't remember the other bit of the saying, but you get the point. I don't want to be obsessing over a milestone when there's so much time to be enjoyed, time to be present within this current day that we have. And that forever is all that will matter, because tomorrow is not guaranteed and yesterday never happened. The psychologist or psychotherapist would hate what I just said about yesterday never happened. No, we do acknowledge our past, but we choose not to be stuck in it. Anyway, today was a good day. I will see you tomorrow.